Testing. Yep, mine's working.
Testy.
Testies on my shoulder make me happy.
Ready?
I'm ready, sir.
All right.
Let's get the comments ready. Let's make sure that the sound is down.
You want to flip that over to just click on the Mozilla? The silly little ass thing on the bottom. It's the, I don't know, flame, whatever the fuck it is.
Oh, the Firefox
thing.
thing.
That thing. There we go.
Is that it?
George learns how to read.
Traveler's Holiday, right?
Yeah, I think so.
What's going on, Brother Holiday?
How you doing, Holiday?
Miss you. I haven't been on Discord a lot lately. I've had some misadventures of driving back and forth to Ohio twice in 4 days.
Me either.
But hope all is well with you. Miss you.
Volume.
Maybe we should take Holiday's picture and put him in Ken's spot so that he's like our guest host tonight.
Need something to lean.
What's that?
I need something to lean my phone.
Use the bottle. Use the jack.
I did. It's not strong enough.
Oh. That's why I have mine with the kickstand.
Yeah, I don't got a kickstand.
That's what I heard. We're getting ready soon, folks. Get a block of wood.
I'll use our broke-ass stamper.
Oh, there you go.
That'll work. It's cast iron. I won't go nowhere. All right.
Yeah, Kenny's in for a lube job tonight, so he will not be joined.
Oh my God.
Gotta oil up his joints.
Yeah. How you doing, Oscar? All right, you ready?
Ready, sir.
All right. You want to lead it off?
Sure.
Have at it.
Hello, and welcome to the Freemasons Podcast with your host, Worshipful Brother Joe.
And Right Worshipful Brother George Mudry.
And tonight we're going to revisit and pick up where we left off on the Lost Book of Enki.
Right there.
But before we do that, I know we had a few 5-star reviews that Worshipful Brother Ken sent over to us since then. So let me pull those up and get ready to read those. I believe we left off with Blind Brother, so we've had 3
Joe,
more.
Before we do that,
Yeah, go ahead.
We had a pretty significant attack in Kabul today, where 13 servicemen passed away by some piece of shit with a bomb. So I want to toast the fallen and the injured.
Absolutely.
That, passed away today.
Why don't you lead that one?
Brother, right hand arms.
To arms.
Ready.
Ready.
Aim.
Aim.
Fire, good fire, fire all. Together, brother.
Vivat, vivat, vivat.
All right. All right, Joe. Continue now. Sorry.
All right, no worries. Going on our 5-star reviews. First one is great podcast with awesome, enlightening content. I do have an important question, though. Did you have to go to a custom furniture store to get a chair that is tall enough to lift Right Worshipful Brother George up high enough to be even with the other brothers?
Yes.
Have a good evening, brethren. That is from Daddy 7349. Hi, Daddy.
I'm actually sitting on 2 pillows. That's the truth.
Next one is from CR_Bell. Excellent content, always entertaining and informative. I enjoy the interactions of the 3 men who are Masons and just as clearly friends. As a newly raised Master Mason, I'm grateful for all the education I'm getting from them. And last but... no, I'm sorry. We have 2 more. We've got Sigor Man. 5 stars. Not only is this a serious podcast about Freemasonry, they are also hilarious as a whole new way to learn an art with history. Keep up the toast. Feeling we'll be doing a few tonight.
We're funny?
Yeah.
Do you know why Masons wear aprons?
Why do Masons wear aprons, George?
To hide their working tools.
Oh, Christ.
Continue.
Hey, cheers to those who are still working. Last one is from JBox304. How appropriate. Love the podcast. Hey, brothers, I've recently started listening to the podcast from the very first episode going all the way through, and I love it. It's lighthearted and fun, and y'all don't take yourselves too seriously while at the same time making it educational and informative. I'm a first... Oh, wow, this is a long one. I'm a first-generation Freemason from Alabama and have been in the craft for going on 5 years now, but due to being away at college, Traveling back and forth wasn't very active until the beginning of this year. Now that I'm back in my home lodge regularly, I was recently elected to be placed in the South. My best friend Michael Rodriguez was placed in the West, being young Masons, both 26. I can't tell you how much of a help your podcast is with all the great info y'all, and these are his y'alls, I'm not putting them in, put out, and how much I enjoy it. Keep up the great work, Brother Joshua Box, Junior Warden, Winfield Lodge, number 304, F&AM, Winfield, Alabama.
All right. Joey, lead it.
Brother, right hand to arms.
Two arms.
Ready.
Ready?
Aim.
Aim.
Fire, good fire, fire all. Together, brother. Vivat, vivat, vivat. What is that, honey?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, it is nice. Sean Osler, not much, just on my way back to the NICU. Good luck to you, brother. It sucks, but we're pulling for you. All right, I'll give you a little bit more.
Oh, boy. It's going to be one of those.
Why not? All right, so I think that's all we got for toast. So please like, share, and subscribe. And Joe, tell them about Discord.
Yes, so you too can get access to our content on Discord by joining Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you can get exclusive access to all Patreon content, our multiple Discord channels, and that elusive gold tone Freemasons podcast pin. I know we've had quite a few new Discord members lately, so if you have not reached out to Brother Rafferty and let him know that you need your pin, please do so. Go ahead and just pop a note in Discord, and we'll make sure he gets in touch with you and you get that pin.
Right.
It may take a little while, but that's it. For all as little as $5 a month, you can help support us. You can help us do things like upgrade our equipment. Your support helped us build this the studio here with the paneling, the desk, the new microphones, everything. So your support is greatly appreciated.
And beer money.
On Patreon. Beer money. Beer money is important.
All right, so we're going to get into, so again, I started reading this Lost Book of Enki. I've done quite a couple of podcast special episodes about this thing. Interesting book. I'm not reading it to try to sway anybody's mind, but it is interesting. You'll notice in this book, and I've said it multiple times before, there is a lot of correlating things that correlate with the Bible and even parts of Freemasonry too. Specifically, they talk about the 33rd and all that stuff, and 33 and the ancient mystery schools and all that stuff. And but this particular tablet we're going to get into is the 9th tablet. I'm going to try to read this as best as I can with the mic close to my face. This tablet is basically, I'm going to give you the synopsis of the 9th tablet. I think I read it on the last one, but I haven't done this in a while, so I'm going to read it again. Just FYI, it's hot as hell up here.
It is really freaking hot. I'm sitting here doing nothing and sweating.
So let's get into the synopsis of the 9th tablet. Have you ever heard this, Joe? Have you listened?
I have not. I'm familiar with some of the stuff. I haven't sat down and read it in depth, but I'm very curious what's in the 9th tablet. Because as we know, that's a significant number in Freemasonry, and I'm just wondering if there's any correlation.
I think this is the tablet that has to do a lot of the story of the Book of Enoch. So maybe you can draw correlations, especially beer money, Oscar Texas. You're damn right. Damn right, especially beer money. So let's get into the synopsis of the 9th tablet. Mankind proliferates. Adapa's line serves as royalty, defying Enlil. Marduk espouses an earthling female. This is where I was talking about the Book of Enoch. The celestial disturbances and climate changes affect Lamu. Lamu, we knew, is Mars, I believe. They called Earth was Ki. That's why he got his name Enki.
Gotcha.
His original name was Ea, or Ea. And then when he came to Earth, they bestowed the title of Enki on him, Lord of Earth. For those who don't know what Anunnaki stands for, it is Sumerian for from those whom heaven came to Earth, basically is what it boils down to. And they called the planets different things, Lamu and all this other stuff. Our moon, I think, was called Kingle. Kingu is what it was called.
Okay.
And It is funny, and again, just a stupid correlation that I make, but we call Earth, Earth, right?
Yeah, Earth,
First,
Terra.
first two letters of Earth are
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always found that interesting. But anyway, let's continue on. Celestial disturbances and climate changes affect Lamu, the Igigi, which are well, I guess you can compare them to the Watchers in the Bible, or the Nephilim.
Okay.
The Igigi were the Anunnaki who went on Mars to basically be on Mars for a way station for gold, because that was what they were after. And I'm kind of just speeding everybody up here for those who haven't heard it. And what their job was to do is, after the Anunnaki, or humans, mine the gold, it would get sent up to Lamu, or Mars, and from there the Igigi would send it off to Nibiru, which is supposedly their planet, according to Zacharia Sitchin here. So they descended to Earth, and they seized Earthling females as wives. The promiscuous Enki begets a human son, Zizudra. Droughts and pestilences cause suffering on Earth, and Lil sees it as fated retribution for, humans, basically intermingling with the Anunnaki.
Yeah.
He wants to return home. Ninma, who we've made correlations, I think I did it on the last episode. Ninma, when we were talking about apathy. Mm-hmm. Ninma is, I guess, loosely correlated to the Mother Mary.
Yes. Yep. By the way, good episode. I listened to that on one of my drives.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
From Ohio.
Ninma, aged by the Earth cycles, because again, these people, these Anunnaki, supposedly had what we would call immortality, where they lived for thousands of years. And it's interesting that there is actually what's called a King's List, which is an actual Sumerian tablet that talks about how this king lived and reigned for 300 and some thousand years.
And allegedly, didn't I know there are some biblical characters that lived a really long time.
Noah.
I think Noah, Abraham. I think even King Solomon had a lifespan far exceeding that of the time.
So the way that it's explained in this book, and this is why I really like this book, is because they actually break it down and let you understand, or they try to tell you. He explains to you why, and the theory is that Nibiru has a very elliptical orbit. So it goes way, way far out into the far reaches of the solar system by the Kuiper Belt. And then it makes a revolution around our sun every 36,000 years. So if you think about it, the reason why we age so fast is because we're zipping around that big, giant, glowing ball. And, Earth, the Earth is constantly moving very, very fast, believe it or not. But Nibiru moves much slower. This planet of the Anunnaki moves much, much slower. So they live longer because of that.
It reminds me of that scene from one of the Superman movies where he actually flies the Earth backwards to reverse time, and he reverses the spin on the Earth.
Right. Well, I mean, you could even go to the movie Interstellar. Remember when Matthew McConaughey came back and his daughter was, like, on her deathbed, but he was still young as hell?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, that's pretty much the concept, is that time moves differently. And actually, I think it's even been proven because, I mean, even the clocks, I think, on the Apollo moon missions were actually, like, 3 or 4 minutes behind Earth?
Something like that.
Something like that,
yeah.
Where it actually time was slowed down.
One of Einstein's theory, his theory of relativity, that
Correct.
time is relative depending on your environment and the situation, and it can be distorted.
Right. So it would make these Anunnaki, in a sense, almost immortal compared to us. You know what I mean? Right. We as that Sumerian god's going to live to be 600,000 years old, and we're going to die in less than 100. So they'd seen them as immortal. But now that they're on planet Earth, they're aging much faster. So that's why it says, Ninma, aged by Earth cycles, also wants to return. A mystery emissary warns them not to defy their destiny. Signs increase of the coming calamitous deluge. So we're getting into the flood now.
Great flood, yeah.
Most Anunnaki depart back to Nibiru, and Lil enforces a plan to let mankind perish. So this is where you're getting the story about God getting rid of basically mankind, letting them just perish in the deluge, or the Great Flood, whatever you want to call it. Enki and Ninmah start to preserve Earth's life seeds, and this is something I kind of touched on with the apathy thing. So this is perfectly in line with the last episode,
where it made more sense with Noah preserving seeds,
yes,
versus taking one of each animal,
right,
or two of each animal.
Nergal, Lord of the Lord of the lower world, is to issue the warning. Now, you'd think the lower world would mean underground. No, he actually was on the South Pole, or damn close to it.
Okay.
So let's get into the ninth tablet here, and then we'll slowly, if you got something, just tap me on the shoulder, and we'll pick it apart as we go. I'm excited to read this stuff, because this is some wild shit here. It's quite interesting. Does it have anything to do with Freemasonry? Not really. But I love a good story.
No, but it might be related to the ancient mysteries, which
Correct.
Freemasonry is
Right.
somewhat tied
Somewhat
to.
tied
So
to.
there could be some type of lineage,
It's
potentially.
loosely in regards to Egypt and all that stuff, and the Great Pyramids and everything.
It's like your third cousin twice removed.
Right. The only thing I will say is I just want to, again, talk about, this was, so I want to talk about this book real quick. Zacharia Sitchin was the guy who wrote this book. And he wrote this book, but he was one of 5 people who were able to decipher Sumerian tablets and understand Sumerian language. So he wrote this book almost verbatim of what was going on, according to Sumerian tablets, which we've already established were 5,000 years prior to the Bible.
Yep.
So, all right. So, ninth tablet. In the days of Lumak, did Marduk and the Agigi with earthlings intermarry. In those days, earth and hardships were increasing. In those days on Lamu, with dryness and dust, the planet was enveloped. So what you're seeing is you're kind of getting a global warming type situation going on here. The Anunnaki who decrees the fates. It's interesting, too, how they use this. Real quick before I get into there's 2 things that they talk about, destiny and fate. What's destiny is things that cannot be changed, but fate is something you can play with. So, the Anunnaki who decrees the fates, Enlil and Enki and Ninmah, with each other consulted. Again, there's your 3 top gods.
Yep. The Trinity.
The Trinity, in a sense.
Yep.
Real quick, I'll just go back onto the Anunnaki ranking system that they counted in 6s, right? I've talked about this, I think, in the beginning of the tablets, but they counted in 6s. We still do this today. How much is a dozen? Or a half dozen?
Yep.
Go to Dunkin' Donuts and ask for a deca. What's that?
Deca?
A deca
Usually
of donuts.
Never heard it used, but Deca's usually 10.
10.
Yeah.
People look at you like you were freaking nuts.
Yeah.
But you ask for 6 or 12. Eggs, 6, 12. Why do they come like that? Something to think about. We still use this today. 360 degrees of a circle. It's 6 times.
Derivative of 6.
Derivative of 6. Isn't this around the same time as Gilgamesh? Oh, James Purvis. Actually, Gilgamesh came later. He was a later story, and it is in this book, though. So at some point later in the book, I'll get to that. But let me continue with the 9th tablet here. The Anunnaki decrees the fates, Enlil, Enki, and Ninmah with each other consulted. What conditions on Earth and Lamu were altering, they wondered. So they're wondering why all of a sudden there's this global warming thing going on. I just want to be clear again. This is written pretty much, I believe, verbatim. So the wording and the way it translates to English is going to sound a little screwy, but just follow with me. In the Abzu, which we talked about was Lower Africa, at the tip of the white land facing, instruments for observing they installed. So we're talking about South Africa, if you really want to get technical. In the charge of Nergal, the son of Enki, and his spouse Ereshkigal, the instruments were put. To the land beyond the seas, Ninurta was assigned. In the mountain land, a bond heaven-earth to establish. On Lamu, Mars, the Agigi were restless. To pacify them, Marduk was the task given. Until what are the hardships causing? The weigh station on Lamu must be kept. Again, weigh station as in weighing the gold.
Yep.
So to Marduk the leader said, the three who fate's decree with each other consulted. They looked at each other. How old the others are. Each one of the others thought. Enki, who the death of Adapa was grieving, Adapa being, and it's funny, Adapa was, so the first human was Adamu, and he was said to have been the clay of the earth.
Right, so Adam,
that's
made from
Adam.
God's image from clay.
Correct.
From dirt or sand, whichever.
So later, Enki ended up screwing around with a human, and he ended up not him, but the human female ended up birthing a son who was named Adapa. And I think that's interesting because it's kind of where you get your word adapt.
Mm-hmm.
Kind
Perhaps.
of, right? So anyway, continuing on. He was the first one to speak, Enki, that is. More than 100 shars, again, shars are 3,600 years, since my arrival have passed. To his brother and sister, he said, I was then a dashing leader. Now I am bearded, tired, and old.
So, old man, gray,
Yep.
beard.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a typical image of most
God.
gods. Yeah.
Right. An enthusiastic hero I was, for command and adventure ready, Enlil said. Now I have children who have children, all on earth born. Old on earth we became, but those on earth born are even older sooner. So what you're seeing is that their sons are actually looking older than them because they were born on earth.
Right.
Whereas Enlil, Enki, and Ninmah were born on Nibiru, which they, their native planet would give them the slower life cycle. Let's see what we got here. Sending positive vibes. Jedi Dick Sensei. That cracked me up. Thank you. I needed that. Now I have, old on, let's continue on. So he's basically talking about his sons are older. So did Enlil to his brother and sister ruefully say. As for me, an old sheep they call me. So did Ninmah witfully say. While the others have been coming and going turns on earth to serve taking, we the leaders have stayed and stayed. Perchance it is time to leave, so did Enlil say. In other words, he's saying, let's get the fuck out of here and go back to Nibiru. Of that did I often wonder, to them Enki was saying. Each time one of us three to revisit Nibiru wished. Word from Nibiru always are coming there to prevent it. In other words, the people on Nibiru were like, nah, you ain't coming back here. Interesting. Of that I too did wonder, Enlil was saying. Is it a thing on Nibiru, a thing on Earth? So he's basically going back like, what do they consider us, like the black sheep of the family? Like,
yeah.
We're not allowed to come back? Perchance the life cycles that differ it concerns, so was Ninmah saying. To watch and see what transpires, the three leaders decided. At that time, fate, or was it destiny, into the hands the matters took. For it came to pass that soon thereafter Marduk to his father Enki came. A matter of gravity. So, again, Marduk is the Babylonian god of ancient Babylon. But according to the Sumerian tablets, it was also Enki's firstborn son. So he comes to his father and he says, upon the earth the three sons of Enlil's spouse have chosen. Ninurta Bau of Anu, a young daughter, he has espoused. Ninar has chosen Ningal. Ishur Shala has taken. By Nergal, your son Ereshkigal of Enlil, a granddaughter, as a spouse has taken. By threats to kill her, her consent from her was extracted. Oh shit, tried killing his old lady. To await my espousal, being your firstborn, Nergal did not wait. So I guess apparently the firstborn son is I guess they have to get married in line, is kind of what he's saying. But Nergal, which was his younger brother, got married first. It's kind of what I'm driving at here, because it says, to wait my espousal, being your firstborn, Nergal did not await. The other four in deference, my espousal, are waiting. A bride I wish to choose, to have a spouse is my desire, so did Marduk to his father say. Your words happy make me, and Enki to Marduk was saying. Your mother too shall rejoice. So he's excited. Yeah, my son's getting married. This is awesome. Yeah. To hold his words to Ninki, Marduk, with a raised hand to his father, motioned. He's like, oh, whoa. Slow down here, Dad. You're not going to like what the hell I got coming here. Is she one of the young ones who heal and succor give? So what is succor? Succor.
I know we use it in our ritual. We want to. It's succor.
Succor. Thank you.
Because we don't want to say, because we use it in conjunction with the poor, and we certainly don't want to succor the poor. I believe it's another term for comfort, if I remember correctly.
Okay, comfort.
To help, to comfort, to...
I mean, my mind went absolutely down in the gutter. I mean, instantly.
Well, that's one of the things. Anybody doing a Masonic ritual, especially if you're doing an installation and it's a semi-public event, you don't want to get up there and say that we're going to do this, this, and this, and succor the poor. Make sure you understand the pronunciation of some of these words.
That's awesome. So Enki went on to ask. He was asking his son, is it one of the young girls that takes care of you, in a sense?
Which could be a whole bunch of different things.
A descendant of Adapa she is, of earth, not Nibiru is she, Marduk softly whispered. So a descendant of Adapa being the... Earthborn human.
Yeah. Guessing that's not going to go over very well.
No. So it's a human he wants to take as a wife. With a puzzled look, Enki was speechless. Then uncontrolled words he shouted. Oh, God, I wish I was a fly in the wall in that room.
I wonder what the curse words in Sumerian would look like.
I don't know. F-U-C-T? F-U-C-U?
I see where you're going.
You see where I'm going.
I see where you're going.
With a puzzle, a prince of Nibiru, a firstborn to succession entitled, an earthling will espouse? Not an earthling, but you're of your own offspring, to him, Marduk said. A daughter of Enki, who to heaven was taken she is. Serapan is her name. Enki, his spouse, Ninki summoned. To her, what with Marduk transpired, he related. Oh boy! So Enki went and got his old lady. He got Marduk's mommy.
Wait till your mother gets home.
Wait till your mother gets home.
Your mother gets home. She walks in. She walks in and goes, "Oh, wait till you get a load of this. Come on in. I got some good news for you. Have a seat." I
could see him sitting in the couch and be like, so Marduk wants to get married.
I'm thinking it's that's great. I envision it more as a lazy boy recliner. Like Archie Bunker sitting in the chair.
Just strumming his fingers. She's like, oh, that's great. He wants to get married. He's like, yeah, but wait. Here's the onion. Yeah. Here's the onion. To Ninki, his mother, Marduk, his heart's desire repeated and said, when Enkimi with me was journeying, and of heaven and earth him I was teaching, what my father once had said I with my own eyes witnessed. Step by step on this planet, a primitive being, one like us to be, we have created. Let me continue. Ready? Listen to this.
Yep.
In our image and in our likeness, civilized earthlings is, except for the long life he is we. So what Marduk is basically saying is, we created civilized men. Now I want to make a distinction here because they considered Adamu, who was the first human, just a worker. Adapa is the first civilized human. So they make that distinction there. And then he goes on to say, in our image and in our likeness, civilized earthling is. So in other words, he looks like them.
Right.
Except for his long life, he is we. So when we sit here and we do our Masonic ritual, we talk, or not Masonic ritual, but when we talk about how the apothecary, what is it called? Apotheosis.
The apotheosis.
Apotheosis of people. It's kind of where this comes from. In a sense.
In a sense, it does, because it's kind of saying that
we are gods. We are the gods. We are just like them.
Exactly.
So I find that fascinating to think about that. A daughter of Enkimi, my fancy caught. Her to espouse I wish. Ninki her son's words pondered, and the maiden, does she your gaze appreciate? So did Marduk ask. So did she, Marduk ask. In other words, Ninki, his mother, is asking, so does she want to marry you? Or you just think you're going to grab her by the hair and drag her into the cave, and, you know.
Which is pretty much, if you follow Greek mythology and a lot of mythology, that's kind of what the gods did. That's kind of what Zeus did a couple times.
Yes. This is not the matter to consider, Enki with his raised voice said. If our son this shall do, to Nibiru with his spouse he will never go. His princely rights on Nibiru he will forever forsake. So in other words, if he marries a human, you're out of the family, in a sense. To this,
it's really starting to sound like Archie Bunker.
Yeah. To this, Marduk, with a bitter laughter, responded, my rights on Nibiru are non-existent. Even on earth, my rights as firstborn have been trampled. This, indeed, is my decision. From prince, a king on earth become, the master of this planet. That will play big time later into this book.
Yep.
Let it so be, Ninki said. Let it so be, Enki said. Interesting that Ninki wasn't the original name of her. Her name was changed. In Sumerians, you're gonna pick up a correlation on this one. But Enki got his name. Notice her name is Ninki. So her name became like him.
Yes. So she took.
Who does that in modern day?
Everybody.
Every goddamn human being.
Except for maybe like some of these fringe.
You mean the bra burners?
Them, some of these, these millennials are a little different.
But that's where it comes from.
The name, yeah.
That's where it comes from, right here, folks.
When you said Ninki, the first thing I thought of was nincompoop. Maybe it's short for that.
They summoned Matashudal, the bride's brother, of Marduk's wish to them they told. So they went and got the human male. He ain't gonna do shit. Come on, these are gods. They stood apparently over 8 feet tall.
Right, which is where you get some of these legends.
Yeah, let's go get her brother. Are you good with this?
Well, but there was actually discussion, like you talk about some biblical references, and you talk about Goliath was a giant, and the children of some of these god earthbound women, the product of their
were big.
They were half gods. They were demigods, and a lot of them were big. And there was actually even I think there was a show on Travel Channel that followed Brother Scott Walter's show, where these two guys up in Rhode Island were like looking for remnants and remains of giants.
Right.
You talk about 2 rows of teeth and.
So James Pruvis, if you're still watching and you're on here, that's Gilgamesh.
Yep.
Gilgamesh was a demigod. Half human, half Anunnaki. So, anyway, I'll continue on here. So they went and got the brother. I mean, he's a human. He can do shit.
Right.
I mean, I'm, 4'2"? Am I going to take a swipe at Ken? Probably not. I can't reach that high.
You were definitely not the product of the Anunnaki.
Humbled with joy and overwhelmed, Matashul was. Let it so be, he said. When of the decision, Enlil, this is the other chief god, who's actually Enlil is Lord of the Command. He was the highest of them on earth. When he was told, with fury he was seized. It was one thing for the father with earthlings intercourse have. He's talking about Enki banging the earthling and making... It is another matter for the son of an earthling to espouse lordship on her to bestow. So what that basically means is he's a prince. What does the human become? Princess. Right. When Ninmah of the matter was told, greatly disappointed she was. This is his aunt, I guess you can say. Marduk, any maiden of ours could espouse, even from my own daughters by Enki he could choose. So this is kind of where you get your incest, too.
Yeah.
Your story of royalty having,
which was very prevalent
relations,
to preserve
having
bloodline.
relations to preserve the bloodline. But this is where it comes from, again. Half-sisters, as in the royal custom, he would espouse, so did Ninmah say. No, okay, so he couldn't marry or espouse a full sister, but it could be a half-sister, is what she's saying. With fury, Enlil to Anu.
Like West Virginia.
With fury, Enlil to Anu. Now we know who Anu is. Anu, A-N-U, was the chief god on Nibiru. He was the creme de la creme. He's your Zeus. He's your
Jupiter.
He's your
Odin.
He's Odin. He's your number one guy. He's the top dog here. If you want to compare it to the mob, Enlil's the underboss. He's the gaddy, if you will. Anu is the Castellano. Anyway, it didn't work out well for Castellano, but moving on. With fury,
Went to the prom with a Castellano. True story.
And you survived?
I was good.
I think we talked about it in our Mafia
I
episode.
behaved.
Matt Goldswiggle, good evening. Good evening. With fury, Enlil to Anu on Nibiru of the matter's words he beamed up. Too far has this behavior gone. It cannot be allowed. To Anu the king, Enlil said. They got work on their work. They got to work on their apostrophes. Damn it. On Nibiru, Anu the counselor summoned the matter with urgency to discuss. So he had his own presidential cabinet, if you will. In the rule books of such a matter, no rule they found. Anu the savants also summoned the matter's consequences to discuss. On Nibiru, so this is a big ass deal right here.
Yeah.
On Nibiru, Adapa, the maiden's progenitor, could not stay. To Anu, they were saying. In other words, on Nibiru, Adapa, he couldn't stay on Nibiru, so they're kicking his ass out of Nibiru. Therefore, to return to Nibiru with her, Marduk forever must be barred. Oh, scratch that. I'm saying, in other words, she can't come to Nibiru, so Marduk and his old lady, or soon-to-be old lady, can't come to Nibiru. Indeed, having to Earth cycles become accustomed, even without her, Marduk's return impossible might be. That's interesting. Because, I mean, science has pretty much said that, humans might not survive on certain planets depending on the cycles around the planet, including the mass of a planet. It's like, what is it, Jupiter? If we went on Jupiter, we just get smushed to the damn bottom.
Yeah, I think the gravitational pull is so extreme that you would just...
And I think Mars was the opposite. You'd stretch. You'd lose muscle mass, and you'd actually stretch because there's less atmosphere, there's less resistance. Now, I think it's interesting how... this is 5,000-year-old text here now. You know what I mean? And they're already talking about shit that we're just realizing now.
Space travel,
and different...
distortion.
Yeah. Interesting. Indeed, having Earth cycles become... hey, Joe.
Hey.
Why don't you kick that light on behind you? Because I'm getting a little cross-eyed here. Thank you, sir. Let there be light.
And there was light.
And there was light. So were the savants to Anu saying, with that the counselors too agreed. Let the decision to Earth be beamed, Anu is saying. Marduk marry he can, but on Nibiru a prince he shall be no more.
So he pretty much has to, if he's going to marry, marry a commoner.
He pulled a Prince Harry.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Sorry, I need something to wet my whistle. The decision by Enki and Marduk was accepted, and Lil too to the word from Nibiru bowed. In other words, you don't screw around with Anu. Is what I've kind of pretty much gathered out of this book. It's like once he says that's it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the master of our lodges, right?
It's kind of like my dad. It's like, don't make me get off this couch. Once he got off the couch, that was it. There was no turning back.
The biggest scare I've ever had was the sound of the recliner closing.
So my dad used to snap the belt. That was always take the belt and do the psh.
The sound of the recliner closing. Because
Christ.
if you knew that recliner was closing up, you knew your ass was screwed.
Yeah, and there was no.
doors.
Let me just fake like I'm gonna go after them to scare them. Oh no! Once they committed, they were committed.
Nope.
It's like once I get up off this recliner or this couch, like,
Right.
It's on.
It's on.
There's no stopping. No halfway.
Let there be a wedding celebration in Eridu. Let it be. Eridu being the chief city at the time. Ninki to them said, in the Eden, interesting, again, talked about it, Edin, not Eden. But in the Eden, which is where they first landed and set up their...
It's kind of like a laboratory, no? Like it's where they set up their...
It's where they set up shop,
right.
in a sense.
But that's also where, like, a lot of this, when you talk about the tree of knowledge and, the creation of Earthlings, like, that's kind of where this all took place.
So he says, in the Eden, Marduk and his bride cannot stay, and Lil, the commander, announced. This is the second time he's told him to get the fuck out.
So he and his wife got thrown out of
Thrown out, yep.
Sounds like a familiar story.
Yeah, and there was one earlier of when Enki, earlier in the book, it talked about how Enki gave humans, male and female, the ability to procreate, because we didn't originally have it. And once they started covering themselves with fig leaves, and Lil flipped out, because he realized that the humans
knew what those were
knew what the hell they were for. A domain of their own, away from the Eden, in another land, so did Enki to Enlil say. Of Marduk being sent away, Enlil with consent to himself was thinking. To what land, of what domain are you speaking? Enlil to his brother Enki said. Now, the picture this on a map. Okay, I've pretty much established on here that Eden we know is the Mesopotamia, right? Sidonia, whatever you want to call it, right? In between the Tigris and Euphrates. We've talked about the Abzu, and I the lower lands as they called it, and I pretty much came up with and other people have come up and said that's basically southern Africa, because that's where a lot of gold comes out of or came out of. There are still mines to this day that are down there that they're gold mines that look like they were laser cut. You ever seen these?
No.
Yeah, pretty wild. So he's talking here, picture on a map. A domain above the Abzu in the land that the upper seas reach, one that by waters from Eden is separated, that by ships can be reached. So where do the Tigris and Euphrates dump off into?
Where are they? Egypt?
The Tigris and Euphrates are in Iraq.
Okay.
They go straight up from Kuwait through Iraq and right dump into basically the Mediterranean.
Okay.
So did Enki to Enlil say. Let it so be, Enlil said. In Eridu, a wedding celebration Ninki from Marduk and Sarapant arranged. Her people, by the sound of a copper drum, the ceremony announced, with 7 tambourines, her sisters and bride to her spouse presented. A great multitude of civilized earthlings in Eridu assembled like a coronation to them the wedding was. Young Anunnaki also attended. Igigi from Lamu in great numbers came to celebrate their leader's wedding of Nibiru and Earth, a union to witness we came. So did the Igigi their arrival in large numbers explain. Check your shoes, Joe. I smell the bullshit. I'll get into it. Now this is the account of how the Igigi, the daughters of the Earthlings, abducted. Now, tell me, Joe, you ever read the Book of Enoch?
No, but I'm familiar with it.
The Nephilim,
Yes.
or the Watchers,
Yes.
took what? And did relations with them.
Oh, they took human women.
But it specifically says the daughters of man. So, wait till you hear how this is explained here. Now, this is the account of how the Igigi and the daughters of Earthling abducted, and how I mean, really? I'm trying to read, dude. Put a silencer on it.
I hear you. I'm not a motorcycle guy, so.
And how the afflictions followed, and Zuzudra, oddly, was born. In great number did the Igigi from Lamu to earth come. Only 1/3 of them on Lamu stayed. To earth came 200. To be with their leader Marduk, his wedding celebration to attend was their explanation. Unbeknownst to Enlil and Enki was their secret. To abduct and have conjugation was their plot. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Another analogy I want to draw here. We talked about Adam and Eve getting thrown out of the kingdom. However, you know, when you talk about the Nephilim and the Watchers, some have taken those to be the fallen angels, those that went against God, who were also banished from heaven.
Now,
Primarily for fornicating with human women.
right. So let's
there's a
break
lot
it
of
down to
similarities
this.
here.
Let's break it down to this now, okay? Enlil was the chief god on earth. So the Igigi were controlled by Marduk,
Yeah.
right? Which was not Enlil's. And he was against the Igigi, Marduk's workers,
Yeah.
basically hooking up with human women.
Right.
So, I mean, there you go. You would call them fallen angels because they fell out of his grace. He was pissed off about it.
Exactly.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and you can't come here anymore.
Right. Unbeknownst to the leaders on earth, a multitude of Agigi on Lamu got together. When to Marduk permitted is from us too should... let me try it. Tough read here. What to Marduk permitted is from us too should not be deprived to each other, they said. What they're basically saying is Marduk can marry human women. Why the hell can't we?
Right.
Enough of suffering and loneliness if of not offspring spring ever having was their slogan. In other words, we're up here working our balls off. And we ain't got no offspring. We ain't got no kids. We're just
Right.
literally working here all the time.
But you get to do it.
Yeah. You'll get to do it, but we don't. During their comings and goings between Lamu and Earth, the daughters of the Earthlings, the Adapite, females, as them they called the Adapite. So, again, daughters of Adapa.
Very similar to Aphrodite,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
goddess of
That's
love.
a good one.
So very
And she was supposed to be beautiful, and everybody wanted her and all that stuff. That's a good... You know what? Goddamn, Joe. I'm glad you're doing this, man. I never even thought about that. They saw, and after them they lusted. Oh, there you go, Joe. And to each other the plotters said, come, let us choose wives from among the Adapite females, and children beget. One among them, Shamgaz, his name was, their leader became. Even if none of you agrees, I alone the deed shall do. To the others he said, if a penalty for the sin shall be imposed, I alone for all of you shall I bear.
So this is sounding an awful lot like, what is referred to commonly as Lucifer, the head of the fallen angels, kind of saying, "No, hey, you can come with me. You know, I'm doing it."
Where it comes from.
It's very similar to, and I forget exactly what his name was before they, when he was an archangel. He had a different name.
His name was Lucifer.
Was it? Because I know Lucifer never mentioned
it was
in the Bible. I thought it was,
no.
I'll look it up.
Samael? Samael.
Yes.
Samael.
Yes.
Yes.
Which has now been converted into a demon's name.
Yes.
Because they want to.
Samael. That's right. So he says, one by one the others in plot joined together by an oath together to do it. They swore. This right here. I'm sorry. This is right here. Your battle of heaven. Basically amounting right here. By the time of Marduk's wedding, 200 of them in the landing place descended. Upon the great platform in the Cedar Mountains they came down. I think we've established that as Lebanon.
Yep.
That's Cedar Mountains. I mean, there's a fucking cedar flag on the Lebanon flag.
And that's actually an appendant body of Freemasonry is the tall cedars of Lebanon.
Bingo. I know. God, you know what, Joe? I'm
I
freaking proud of you right now, man.
get a little bit every once in a while.
Holy shit. From there to Eridu they journeyed. Among the toilings, earthlings they passed. See, I'm really looking forward to reading this right here, because this is your story of the War of Heaven.
Right.
Wait do you hear what happens with the Igigi. Let me continue. Together with the earthlings throng in Eridu they arrived, after the wedding ceremony of Marduk and Sarapant had taken place. By the signal prearranged Shamgaz to the others a sign gave. In other words, let's go. We're doing this. An earthling maiden, each one of the Agigi seized. By force they them abducted. To the landing place in the Cedar Mountains the Agigi with the females went. Into a stronghold, the place they made. To the leaders in a challenge they issued. Enough of deprivation and not having offspring. The Adapite daughters to marry we wish. Your blessing to this you must give. Else by fire all on earth destroy we will. By fire.
So let me read something to you.
Fire
This
away.
is from... It's
Goosebumps.
It's the story of the War of Heaven, and it's from Milton's Paradise Lost.
Yep.
And
John Milton.
Yeah.
Good read.
And following the canonical Christian narrative, Satan convinces, and Satan in this instance, is
You don't care, do you?
no correct.
All right.
Convinces other angels.
Give me Ken's glass.
No, you're not doing that. Convinces other angels to live free from the laws of God. Thereupon they are cast out of heaven. The epic poem starts with the fallen angels in hell. The first portrayal of God in the books is given by fallen angels who describe him as a questionable tyrant and blame him for their fall. Outcast from heaven, the fallen angels establish their own kingdom in the depths of hell, which... I'll take it. Outcast from heaven, the fallen angels establish their own kingdoms in the depths of hell, which a capital called Pandemonium. I did not realize that's where that came from. I thought it came from Gorilla Monsoon, Bedlam, and Pandemonium. But unlike most earlier Christian representations of hell, it is not the primary place for God to torture the sinners, but the fallen angels' own kingdom. The fallen angels even build a palace, play music, and freely debate. Nevertheless, without divine guidance, the fallen angels themselves turn hell into a place of suffering. So it's very similar to the story that you just told. Mm-hmm. Very similar.
Almost identical.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. But this is where it comes from, folks. I mean, you're hearing it right here. So basically he's saying, if you don't let us have female wives, we're going to burn this bitch to the ground. All right. Alarmed the leaders were of Marduk and the Agigi commander charged to take, they demanded. What he's basically saying is, hey, Marduk, take charge of these sons of bitches. They're doing crazy shit right now. If in the matter I a solution must seek with the Agigi, my heart in agreement is. Oh, so Marduk basically said, yeah, I agree with him.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. I didn't grab that.
No worries.
I thought there was one up here. Oh, yeah, there is one here, Joe. There you go, brother.
Grazie.
Don't break the key. Grazie. You ever been to Nardelli's when they do that?
Yes, several times. And they ring the bell?
Yeah, they ring the bell.
Whenever you tip them, that's when they do it.
Good afternoon, Daniel Valdez.
Hey, Danny Valdez. How are you?
So basically, Marduk saying, I agree with him. They shouldn't be allowed to have wives. So did Marduk to the others say, what I have done from them cannot be deprived. Enki and Ninmah, their heads shook. With begrudging agreement, they voiced. So he's saying, yeah, all right, go ahead, do it.
All right, do what you want.
Yeah. Only Enlil was enraged without pacification. Again. So, and I've talked about this earlier, but you notice what's going on here? This is where you get your two gods in the Bible. Right? You had your wrathful God.
Yes.
And then you had your loving God. Enki was your loving God. He was the God who was, in Christianity, I personally feel.
The God in the Old Testament was
a nasty son of a bitch.
Yeah, he was. Like, he was very vengeful and very angry.
This is where I think you get your story of Enlil. Enlil was your pissed off, nope, I'm God, we're gods, they don't get any of this crap.
Right.
Whereas you get Enki's like, I also think that's where you get your story of Lucifer and God. or Lucifer. Yeah, Lucifer and God.
Samael, whatever you want to call him. Right.
Samael, but even when Lucifer has fallen, Lucifer was always seen I'm a friend of man. I'm a friend of man. And again, I think Christianity perverted and everything, but you're getting Lucifer, who's basically saying, give in to all, give in. I mean, granted,
in the Christian version.
In the Christian version.
Lucifer
is the one who says, yeah, no, you go ahead and do it. You go ahead and do it. It feels good, do it.
But
Whereas God's like, no, don't do it. And that's when you're getting your Enlil and your Enki. Enki saying, yeah, it's all right,
Well, and I'll draw another correlation here. So you have Lucifer, meaning light bringer, which light has always been considered knowledge in the ancient mysteries. So he's bringing light. Same with Enki is bringing light to the slaves and educating the common human, and it's the same story of Prometheus.
So I want to
literally brought light to humans.
So I want to be clear about something right here. For everybody who's Christian and freaking out and thinking that we're basically praising Lucifer, no. We're talking about the literal form of the gods here. We're not talking about good versus evil. You got to make a distinction between the two. We're not saying go ahead and do evil. That's not what we're saying. Go ahead and do bad. Lucifer was tied to, or Enki is tied to, doing bad shit. But that's not what this story is saying. It's saying you have two different gods who were in disagreement about things.
Right. One saying, no, they're just slaves. They should be kept in the dark. They should not know certain things. And the other guy's like, no,
I need to make that distinction because people are going to crucify us for that. They're going to be like, they're saying Lucifer is the god and Lucifer, they devil worship. No, it's not what we're saying.
Whenever I use the term Lucifer, I mean it in its literal translation of light bearer, light bringer. Which, if you think again about the story of Prometheus, who brought fire to man and got punished for it, that's what I'm talking about. Is bringing the knowledge, bringing the light, not
correct.
Beelzebub and Satan and that kind of Lucifer.
Right. So let's continue on here. In the Eden, they cannot remain. Oh, hold on one second here.
Oscar TX956 just joined Patreon for as little as $5 a month.
I'll get you in very shortly, Oscar. Don't use the link on the Patreon because it's to our old Discord server. We have a new one now. I'll get it to you as soon as we're done with this. But let me. Enlil was raised without pacification. One evil deed by another has been followed. Fornication from Enki and Marduk, the Agigi, have adopted. In other words, you're basically following in Enki's and in Marduk's footsteps. Our pride and sacred mission to the winds have been abandoned. By our own hands, this planet with earthling multitudes shall be overrun. It's powerful. Because what he's saying is the earthlings are going to take over this goddamn planet and we're going to get kicked the fuck off.
Right.
And bring you to modern day. We're here. They're not. With much disgust was Enlil speaking. Let the Agigi and their females from Earth depart. In other words, you're saying take your humans and get the fuck out of here, basically, in so many words.
Take your little putans and get out of here.
Take your. On Lamu, conditions unbearable have become. Surviving is not possible. So did Marduk and to Enlil and Enki say. So when they originally came, Mars actually had green grass and it was habitable. And now he's saying it's not. Like the winds are crazy, the dust storms are crazy. So you're seeing Mars starting to telling the story.
Desert planet.
Yeah, it's becoming the desert planet it is. All right, let's put that out. All right, so in the Eden, they cannot remain. Enlil with anger shouted. With much disgust, he gathered and left. In his heart, things against Marduk and his earthlings was Enlil plotting. Here you go. We're building up against. We now have God being wrathful.
Yep.
Upon the landing platform in the Cedar Mountains, where the Agigi and their females secluded, children there to them were born. Children of the rocket ships, they were called. Interesting. And if you think rocket ships doesn't convert over to Sumerian.
There's the drawings that actually show
Dingir.
Ancient astronauts.
Dingir.
Yeah.
Look up the honestly, if you guys want a little homework project, look up the Sumerian word Dingir, and look at the symbol. It looks exactly like a rocket ship.
Yeah.
Marduk and Serapent, his spouse, had also had children. Asar and Satu were their first two sons called. To the domain above the Abzu, to him and Serapent granted. Marduk the Agigi invited to dwell in 2 cities that from his sons he had built. Marduk the Agigi summoned some of the Agigi and their offspring to the domain in the dark-hued land came. Dark-hued land. On the landing platform in the Cedar Mountains, Shamgaz and others did remain. To the far east lands, lands of high mountains, some of their offspring went. And that's there's your Iran and Turkey.
Yep.
Mountains. Or Afghanistan, if you will. How Marduk of Earthlings his strength increases. Ninurta carefully observed. What are Enki and Marduk scheming? To his father Enlil, Ninurta said. Ninurta is Enlil's son. So it's basically saying, what the hell are these two up to? They're pulling some shit right now. Like, they're doing some shady shit. So you're starting to see the divide between the family. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
if you're looking at the war in heaven, you're seeing the divide happen. You know,
people are starting to take sides.
They're starting to take sides. And again, most people are going to follow Enlil because he was the chief god. But you're going to get some people who are going to follow the other camp, which is where you get your 2/3 or the 1/3 of heaven rose up against God.
Right.
It's what you're seeing right here. This is what's happening. The earthlings by earthlings inherited will be. The earth by earthlings inherited will be, Enlil to Ninurta said. Go, the offspring of Cain, or Cain, Kain. Go, the offsprings of Cain find, with them a domain of your own prepare. So
now, just to touch on the offspring of Cain, so you know the story of Cain and Abel, obviously, both sons of
So
Adam
in
and
Sumerian, it was called Cain and Abel. Same exact.
And the offspring of Cain
Direct.
were considered to be cursed and evil. And in some stories, it might even be in Bram Stoker, the vampires are considered offspring of Cain. He was considered the original vampire. And some of those, obviously, it's fiction, but that's kind of the lineage of Cain's offspring has always been painted in that in that light.
Another interesting thing, they were, according to this, the descendants of Cain were expelled and sent to a distant land. So his descendants were not eradicated, but they were sent to a distant land.
Yep.
One of the curses, if you read in the Bible, it talks about is that they were not allowed to grow facial hair. Name a people who do not grow facial hair. Come on, Joe.
People that do not
grow facial
hair.
The white man came and wiped them out with polio blankets.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. I never thought of it that way. You're right.
And they were indigenous here to the other side of the globe.
I've never seen a Native American that had facial hair.
Correct.
You're right. Wow, never thought of it.
Interesting, though, huh?
Very.
To the other side of Earth, Ninurta went. The offspring of Cain he found. Other side of Earth. There you go.
Interesting.
How tools to make and music to play he taught them. How in mining to engage and smelt and refine he showed them. How to build rafts of balsam trees he showed them. To cross a great sea he them guided. There you go. Interesting enough, if you want to go into Aztec mythology, their god, who was supposed to come back, was a white man. So when the Spaniards show up, they thought that was their gods returning.
Back. You know, they were wrong. But it also, when you get in, there is some very ancient, when you talk about rafts and things like that, there are some very, very ancient sailing cultures from back,
right.
You know, probably this time that were, you know, whether you want to say biblical times or before biblical times, there's some very ancient sailing cultures.
I got a little bit more to read, so let me just keep going. But I just also want to just say, also in addition to that, another thing that's interesting, even if you want to take it away from the Aztecs, if you look at the Micmac tribe in Canada.
Oh God, yeah, that's
They called Prince Henry, if you would believe that, when he showed up, Glooskap, a white man who was their god. So you have multiple Native American cultures revering the white man as God.
Which, if you look at the Micmac tribe's flag, their nation's flag,
Right.
and the Sinclair family flag,
It's identical.
it's identical with the exception it's like reversed, where there's I think there's a moon and a star on it. They're just on opposite sides of the flag.
Right.
Other than that, they're absolutely identical. So that goes to show you how revered some of these folks were.
In the new land, a domain they established, a city with twin towers they were built.
In the new city, is that what you said?
In a new land, a
new
domain they established, a city with twin towers they were built. Interesting.
It's funny because as you're reading through this, yes, we're like the assumption is this is all taking place 5,000 years before,
Longer than that.
but it almost seems prophetical
Yeah.
in some point, almost
Well,
like
wait, it gets worse.
St. John's Revelations type deal.
It gets worse. Toward the end of the book, it gets really
It's
worse.
also sounded a lot like Nostradamus' quatrains.
A domain beyond the sea it was, a mountain land of the new bond heaven earth it was not. In other words, they couldn't fly there and go to, up into heaven or Nibiru or wherever you want to call it. In the Eden, Lumak was the workmaster. Quotas to enforce was his duty. The earthlings' ration was to reduce. The earthlings' rations to reduce was his task. His spouse was Banatash, the daughter of Lumak's brother he was. So no, basically what Enlil's doing is he's cutting the food rations for humans.
Yeah, he's calling the herd.
Trying to kill them off, calling the herd. Of a beauty outstanding she was, by her beauty was Enki charmed. Oh boy, there's Enki again. Enki to his son Marduk a word did send. To your domain Lumak do summon. Oh boy, we already know where Enki's going with this one.
Like I need to get me some of
You
that.
dirty son of a bitch.
Oh boy.
How by earthlings a city to build there him teach. And when Lumak to the domain of Marduk was summoned to the household of Ninmah in Shurabak, the haven city, his spouse Banatash he brought. From the angry earthling masses protected and safe to be. So the humans are getting pissed off at this point. They're like, feed us, goddammit. But Enki took this chick in and said, you're safe here, honey.
Yeah. Hey, you need a place to stay.
In my best Barry White. You safe, honey. Anyway.
Feel so.
Thereafter, Enki, his sister Ninmut in Shurabak, was quick to visit. On the roof of a dwelling when Banatash was bathing, Enki took her by her loins. He kissed her. His semen into her womb he poured. With a child, Banatash was. Her belly was truly swelling. To Lumak from Shurabak word was sent. To the Eden return a son you have. So Lumak's thinking, I got a kid. Holy shit, I got a kid.
Right.
Little does he know. To the Eden, to Shurabak, Lumak returned to him. Banatash, the son, showed. Here we go. Ready for this, Joe? You ready? Mm-hmm. White as the snow his skin was. The color of wool was his hair. Like the skies were his eyes. In the brilliance were his eyes shining. Blonde hair, blue eyes. This is where you get your whole thing about when Hitler said that there was the Aryan race. This is where it came from. Blonde hair, blue eyes. Because understand, the Anunnaki don't look like that.
Right. And how has traditionally Jesus been depicted in most paintings?
Blonde hair,
blue eyes.
Amazed and frightened was Lumak. To his father Marashal he hurried. A son, unlike an earthling to Banatash, was born. By his birth greatly puzzled I am. Marashal to Banatash came. The newborn son he saw. By his likeness amazed he was. Is one of the Agigi the boy's father? Of Banatash Marashal the truth demanded. So he's pissed. He's like, You fucking around?
Right.
You
right.
To Lumak, your spouse, whether this boy, his son, is the truth reveal. In other words, he's telling me, is this mine? Is it mine? None of the Agigi is the boy's father of his, upon my life, I swear. So she's lying.
So is she claiming a virgin birth? No bet. Of a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid?
Yeah. See, you picking up what's going on here.
Yeah.
All right. So did Banatash to him answer. To his son Lumak, Madashal then turned. A calming arm around his shoulder he put. Kind of like what Joseph did to Mary, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Here you go, Christians. It's on you. Balls in your court. A mystery the boy is, but by his oddness, an omen is to you revealed. Wait, gets better. Unique he is. For a task unique by destiny, he was chosen. For what that task is, I know not. In time appropriate, known it shall become. So they're basically saying he was a gift.
One. Yeah, he was a gift. He was the chosen. You were the chosen one.
So was Mardashal to his son Lumak, saying to what on earth was transpiring. He was alluding in those days the sufferings on earth were increasing. The days grew colder. The skies and the rains were holding back. It's not raining. Fields, their crops diminished, and the sheepfolds, lambs were few. Let the son to you born, unusual as he is, an omen be that a respite is coming. Jesus coming.
And
He's
it's
coming. He's going to kill you all.
When you're reading this, you've always heard why does Jesus have blue eyes and blonde hair? Nobody in that region looked like it, blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe.
Laser beam light storm. I always come on these at the weirdest times. Yeshua ben Yosef, probably not a blonde.
Probably not.
No, but we're talking about the depiction of him.
However, if his true father, and I'm going away from the traditional Christianity story here and just speculating, if his father was somebody who was not from this earth and wasn't from that region and didn't look like the people that lived there,
right?
Maybe he could have been blonde-haired and blue eyes.
Saying
maybe.
Here's my thing, though. It's a similar story, though. You have a god impregnating a human,
correct,
with a strange baby.
It doesn't look like anybody
they're
from
basically
the
saying he's going to be the chosen one, and but in this case, they're saying an omen that will an omen be that a respite is coming. Jesus is coming. He's going to cast out the wicked.
Y'all need Jesus.
Y'all need Jesus. Right here. So did Mardashal to his son Lumak say, let respite be his name. To Mardashal and Lumak Banatash, her son, secretly did not reveal, nor she kept her mouth shut. I don't know who the hell did it.
Well,
Zazudra, he of long bright life days, she called him. In Shurabak he was raised. Oh, okay. All right. Not Jesus. You're going to get into Zazudra in a minute. Ninma on the child of... you all right? All right. Ninma on the child her protection and affection bestowed. Of much understanding he was endowed. With knowledge he was by her provided. Enki the child greatly adored. To read the writings of Adapa him he taught. The priestly rites of how to observe and perform as the boy as a young man learned. So basically Enki took him under his wings. Let me teach you some stuff. Not Jesus. But let's think about Noah.
Okay.
You'll see where that plays into. In the 110th Shar, Zazudra was born. In Shurabak, he grew up and espoused Zara, and she bore him 3 sons. In the days of sufferings, the earth's intensified. Plagues and starvations, the earth afflicted.
Now, just want to stop you there for a moment.
A couple more pages.
So you're talking about suffering, and they named the child... I don't know if it's pronounced respite or respite.
Yeah.
But I think it was respite.
I think it was more of a nickname. But
R-E-S-P-I-T. But that means relief from suffering.
Right.
That's literally the definition of the word.
Yep. Oh, no shit.
Yep.
Interesting. Now, this is the account of Earth's tribulations before the deluge and how the mysterious Galzu, decisions of life and death in secret guided. Interesting Galzu. Because you know who Galzu was? He was the freaking alien in Flintstones.
No, that's Gazoo.
Gazoo. Okay, never mind. I was wrong.
Gazoo.
So,
Great Gazoo. Don't leave off the great.
by conjugations of the Agigian earthling daughters was Enlil greatly disturbed. By Marduk espousal of the earthling female, Enlil much distraught. In his eyes, the Anunnaki mission to Earth had become perverted. To him, the howling, shouting earthling masses of anathema became. Anathema, right? Anathema? Yeah, we'll go with that. Oppressive the pronouncements of the earthlings have become. The conjugations of sleep deprive me. So did Enlil to the other leaders. And he's getting sick of humans bitching. That's basically what he's getting at.
Right.
What do we got for time?
Keep trying to 116.
116. I'm trying my best, Joe. I got a couple more pages, so
this chair's getting extremely uncomfortable on my arse. But all good.
Again, if you want to cut out here, I'll
No,
just
we're
keep
good.
reading. All right. By Marduk's espousal of an earthling's female, by the conjugations. Hold on, where did I leave off? Yeah, no, I keep going. I lost my. Here we go. We got it. In the days of Zazudra, plagues and pestilences of the earth afflicted, aches, dizziness, chills, fevers, the earthlings overwhelmed. Let us earthlings curing teach how themselves to remedy learn. So did Ninma say. So he's basically Ninma's saying, let's teach the earthlings how to take care of their ailments. Let's teach them how to, medicine in a sense.
Right.
This by decree I forbid. Enlil to her pleas retorted. So Enlil said, F that noise. So he wants the humans to die. In the lands whereto the earthlings have spread, waters from their sources did not rise. The earth shut its womb, vegetation did not sprout. So the earth was basically going barren in a sense. Let us, the earthlings, pond and canal building teach. Let them from the seas fish and substance obtain. Enki said to the other leaders. Enki's teaching, let's teach them how to fish. Let's teach them how to, cultivate the land. This by decree I forbid, Enki to Enlil said. Let the earthlings by hunger and pestilence perish. I'm going to say it. F Enlil.
Yeah, he's kind of being a dick. But here, I want to throw something interesting at you, because when we talk about teaching them to cure their own illnesses. When you get into Hermes Trismegistus, his staff is often mistaken for the medical symbol. So the medical symbol is the, God, what is it? The rod of, begins with an A.
I'm gonna add to that in a minute, Joe.
But give me one sec here. But it's often so there's the Hermes, that the caduceus is the winged staff with two snakes going around it. The real symbol for medicine is the single staff with the snake going around it. However, they've kind of become synonymous in the modern age. So here you have another wisdom bringer who the symbol of his staff is directly related to medicine and curing illnesses.
So now what I want you to do, Joe, while you're sitting right there,
Yep.
look up what Enki symbol is.
E-N-K-I?
E-N-K-I. Enki symbol. Your Google search, I don't know if it's going to pop up. But Enki symbol is two snakes intertwined.
Okay. Let me try
There you go.
Enki symbol snake.
Yep.
So now we're getting into,
Enki being Hermes Trismegistus.
right,
Interesting.
who's also Thoth.
Yeah.
Which, not for nothing, these intertwined snakes look incredibly like a DNA strand.
Yes.
Interesting.
And if you think about it, Enki's the one who created humans.
So therein lies the map.
This is some heavy shit we're hitting right
It
now.
absolutely is.
Let me continue here so we
Go
can
ahead.
blow through this and then we can kind
Is
of do
that
a little.
Enki symbol?
That's it.
Yeah. Interesting.
You're all welcome to look it up. For one shar, the earthlings ate the grasses of the fields. For the second shar and third shar, the vengeance of Enlil they suffered. In Shurabak, Zizudra's city, the suffering unbearable was becoming. To Eridu, Zizudra, of the earthlings, a spokesman journeyed. To the house of the Lord Enki he made his way. By his name of the Lord he called. For help and salvation to him he pleaded. Enki by Enlil's decrees was bound. In other words, Zizudra, his son, basically said, Dad, help us. And he said, I can't because of Enlil. He won't let us. In those days, the Anunnaki, for their own surviving, were concerned. Their own rations were diminished by Earth's changes. They themselves were afflicted. On Earth, as on Lamu, the seasons, their regularity lost. So Earth has basically become the same type of climate all year long. For 1 shar, for 2 shars from Nibiru, the heavenly circuits were studied. Oddities in the planetary destinies from Nibiru were observed. On the sun's face, black spots were appearing. From its face, flames shot up. Kishar was also misbehaving. Its host, its footings lost, dizzy were their circuits. Kishar, I believe, is Mercury. The hammered bracelet was by unseen. Oh, hammered bracelet? There's your asteroid belt. Was by unseen net forces pulled and pushed. For reasons unfathomed, the sun, its family, was upsetting. The destinies of the celestial by unsavory fates was overtaken. On Nibiru, the savants' alarms raised. In the public squares, people gathered. The creator of all, to primordial days, the heavens is returning. Angry is the creator of all. Voices from the amongst the people shouted. On earth the tribulations were increasing. Fear and famine their heads reared. For 3 shars, for 4 shars, the instruments, the white land facings were observed. So he's looking at the, basically, Antarctica. By Nurgle and Ereshkigal, odd rumblings in the White Land snows were recorded. The snow ice that the White Lands covered is sliding has taken. So they from Abzu Tip reported. In the lands beyond the seas, Ninurta in his haven foretelling instruments established. Quakes and jitters at the earth's bottom with the instruments he noticed. An odd matter is afoot, so did Enlil to Anu and on Nibiru words of alarm send. For the 5th shar, for the 6th shar, so we're talking about, a shar, 3,600 years, times 6. The phenomena gained strength. On Nibiru, the savants, and an alarm raised of calamities to the king, they were forewarnings gave. The next time Nibiru the sun shall be nearing, earth to Nibiru's net force exposed shall be. So what they're basically saying is, Nibiru is on its way back into our close solar system orbit. And what it's doing is it's screwing up all the planets. It's causing earthquakes. It's causing disturbances. And that's why. Change. Yeah, climate change. Which is interesting if you look at climate change and how the Earth goes in cycles every 3,600
How long ago was the Ice Age?
Well, if you want to go to the Bible, look what what's his name was talking about. Oh, God. What the hell was it in the Bible? He was a prophet. And he kept saying that, like, the sun was blotted out for X amount of time.
Got me. I'm not a biblical scholar.
Yeah.
But allegedly the Ice Age lasted to about 11,500 years ago.
Right.
So then if you take our current 2,000 and add on the 5,000 that the Book of Enki has written before, you'll come up with some number that I'm not familiar with. It's like Scott Steiner math for those wrestling fans out there.
Lamu and its circuits on the sun's other side shall station take. So in other words, Mars is on the other side of the sun, so he's not really getting whacked by it. From the net force of Nibiru, earth in its heavens protection shall not have. Kishar and its host agitated shall be. Lamu should also take shake and wobble. In earth's great below, the snow ice of the white lands, its footing is losing. So there's a big chunk of ice about to break off into the water.
Sounds familiar.
Right. The next time Nibiru is closest to Earth shall approach, the snow ice off the white land surface shall come sliding. A watery calamity it shall cause. By a huge wave, a deluge, the Earth will be overwhelmed.
Yet again.
So when they talk in the Bible, oh, God sent down no.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
On Nibiru, great was the consternation. Uncertain about Nibiru's own fate, Kigs, savants, and counselors about Earth and Lamu greatly worried. The king and counselors' decision made for evacuating Earth and Lamu to prepare, so they're getting the fuck out of Dodge. In the Abzu, the gold mine shut down. Therefrom the Anunnaki to the Eden came. In Bad Tibara, smelting and refining ceased. All gold to Nibiru was lofted. Excuse me. Empty for evacuation ready, a fleet of fast celestial chariots to Earth returned. So they're getting the hell out.
Yeah.
It's an evacuation. Not a Biden evacuation. On Nibiru, on the heavenly signs were watched. On Earth, the tremors recorded were. It was at that time from one of the celestial chariots, a white-haired Anunnaki stepped off. Now, for those who are sitting there reading this and listening to this, I have to make mention of this.
I gotta stand up. My ass hurts.
We're talking about, how the Anunnaki were our gods and created us. But, and again, I've said this before, if the Anunnaki created us, who created them? And we're going to get a taste of that right now. Galzu, the great knower was his name. With steps majestic to Enlil, his way he made. To him a sealed message from Anu he presented. I am Galzu, emissary plenipotentiary of the king and council to Enlil, he said. By his coming Enlil was surprised. No word from Anu of that did forcome. Enlil, the seal of Anu, examined, unbroken and authentic it was. From near Biru-Ki, which is a town, basically, or a city on Earth, Nibiru-Ki. The message tablet was read. Its encoding was trustworthy. From king and council, Galzu speaks. His words are my commands. So did the message from Anu state. That Enki and Ninmah also be summoned was Galzu's request. When they came to Ninmah, Galzu pleasantly smiled. Of the same school and age we were, to her he said. This Ninmah could not recall. The emissary was young as a son. She was his olden mother. In other words, he's saying, yeah, we were in the same school. But
yeah, I grew up with him.
I grew up with you. But she's like, no, you're young as shit. I'm old as hell. Simple as the explanation, Galsuder said, by our winter slumbered life cycles it caused. Indeed, this matter is of my mission. Part about the evacuation is a secret. In other words, you're saying, I'm here to evacuate. Keep it quiet. Ever since Dumuzi and Nibiru stayed, returning Anunnaki on Nibiru examined were. Those who on Earth the longest stayed by returning harshly were afflicted. In other words, the Anunnaki who were on Earth for a while came back to Nibiru. They got sick. They were sick, I guess. Their bodies to Nibiru's cycles were accustomed no longer. Their sleep was disturbed. Their eyesight was failing. The net force of Nibiru weightened their walk. Hold on, Joe. I'm going to see how much more I got to this. Because, oh, man, I got like 6 pages.
Oh, my God. I'm sweating my you-know-what's off in here.
Maybe we'll shut this off. Maybe we'll...
to be continued.
To be continued. We'll continue. Because this is a long chapter. I'm going to mark the page here. But what you're seeing is basically... we'll talk about this. We'll synopsis it real quick, and then we'll get the hell out of here.
All right.
So we're going to go...
my ass
we're going to
hurts.
go play. What was I going to say?
My ass hurts?
Your ass hurts.
Okay.
But you're seeing you've this chapter is quite, or this tablet is quite interesting because you're learning about the Watchers, you're learning about the Nephilim or the Shiny Ones or whatever they were called. You're learning of the coming war between, the brothers or God and, if you want to just make a comparison, God and Lucifer, the war in heaven, and now we're getting into the flood. And it's going to be quite interesting. We'll definitely do this again. I'll do this again. Maybe not live, but I'll put it up in continuation of this. But what'd you think?
Interesting. Very interesting stuff. Ties into a lot of the ancient mysteries, a lot of, creation theories and origin stories of a lot of different religions. So it's you kind of get a good idea of where certain stories or traditions were derived from.
Yeah. What do you say, Joe? You done sweating your ass off? I am.
Done sweating my ass off.
All right. Let's go get somewhere cool.
All right.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I was hoping that what's his name was going to be on here. Legarius was going to be on, but
well, he'll catch us.
He'll catch up
on the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hey, my glass is still full. Should we do one more toast before we go?
Yeah. What do you want to do?
I don't know. Hold on a sec. I want to go over a few messages that I've been receiving from our listeners.
Oh. Well, we'll combine them all into a bunch, but I just want to say that Garrett the Barbarian, my buddy,
did his FC last night.
took his fellow crowd.
Loved it, and I tried not to oversell it to him.
Yep.
Because he and I had been talking about some stuff. I'm like, hey, have you done your FC yet? He goes, no. I'm like, oh, my God, no wonder why this doesn't make sense to you. Put this all on hold, put it in a box, put it away, go to your FC.
Yep.
And
revisit.
I said, I hope it's as beautiful as it's meant to be.
Right.
And he reached out to me. I think it was last night. He did it, and it went well. And he was like, "Yeah, you didn't oversell it. It was absolutely beautiful." So congratulations to him. We've got, we're getting a lot of things from, I'll just mention first names in case they don't want their full names read on the air. Neil, who has been messaging us about how to get involved and how to pick a lodge and whatnot. Actually found an upcoming event for a lodge in his town that he's going to go visit and start the process.
Awesome. You got a quick second here?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to kind of Laser Beam Lightstorm.
I know that name.
He's been popping in here a lot. And he asks, what about EA and that also lining up with Enter the Apprentice? Yeah, no. There's no, and I'm being, in all truth and soberness, it's a interesting quinky dink. You can line up the EA degree, Enter the Apprentice with EI. Yeah, you can, but obviously you don't have to answer that if it's secret information. No, believe it or not, none of this, what I'm reading out of this book, is anywhere in Freemasonry.
No, but you could make some...
You can make loose correlations between the two.
Right.
But realistically, we don't talk about Enki or Enlil or Ninma or Adamu or Adapa or Zazudra. None of this stuff comes into our ritual. None of it. And I need to make clear about somebody who heckled me. I don't know if they heckled me, but they were talking in the comments and they were kind of heckling me about this, that, and the other thing. And they were talking about... astrology in Freemasonry.
Yeah, I saw that one, and how Pike was a man of science, and they I don't know, it was just gibberish.
He was kind of picking apart our words and everything.
And then he said something in Latin, and these three guys aren't the blah 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 blah.
So I want to be clear about something. What we were talking about in terms of astrology and Freemasonry is that in our ritual, we don't talk about Leo the Lion or what's Aquarius? The
fish.
Look at that.
The fish. What?
Oh, I hope that got caught on camera.
What happened? You gonna share? Oh, it is caught on camera. We're still on.
Oh, okay. It's just a condensation.
Yeah.
Huh?
You got all excited.
Oh.
Yeah, that happened to us once before. It only happens when the can is light.
Oh. I shit a little. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I didn't even know what you were talking
I
about.
almost drew the Glock and shot that thing.
Oh,
but anyway, yeah, no, it's not. And he's saying, nice. Was always wondering that if you can go crazy with the ophthalmology synchronicities. Yeah, I mean, you can dive down so many rabbit holes. I mean, none of our ritual though in astrology or even this book, like it's not in our ritual. That's what I was addressing. If you want to take it to Manly P. Hall and you want to take it to Albert Pike, have at it. That's not what is in our ritual today. That was the comparison I was making when we did the whole astrology and Freemasonry. Right. It's not actively in our modern ritual.
No, these guys, they take part of what we say and pick one thing out of context and try to go to task on it.
And no, I don't say. I don't want to shit on the guy too much. He's very, very knowledgeable because he clearly was quoting back Manly P. Hall and everything, and that's totally cool. That's great.
Yeah, but I could do that too, and doesn't.
And I also just wanted to say that we don't also sit here and profess that we know everything about Freemasonry.
No, we are, and
we talk about what we observe,
and kind of bridging what you're saying to a lot of the comments and questions that I've been getting through our Messenger app. Right. Is people couldn't thank us more for making the craft approachable. Right. We're that bridge. Yes. We're that gateway drug.
Yeah.
You listen to us.
You went there, huh?
Yeah, I did. But it's like we give them that impetus to say, okay, I've heard enough. I want to go find a lodge. I want to go do this. And that was your mission when you designed this from the very beginning, is to open up Freemason. Well, you started I didn't come around till episode 15. But that was your initial vision of, we need to open this up to another generation, another group of people, and make it not this secret thing that happens, behind closed doors, which there are still those things. But you need to get information out there that we can have fun, and there's a lot more to it than your grandfather's Freemason.
Right.
So, just some of the people that have messaged me, and again, I'll leave your last names out, but in the last month, David, Jacob, Michael, Harry, Ryan, Jordan, Mark, Sean, Jake, Alex, Ryan, Mike, Joe. Oh, that's Joe Schultz. He doesn't count. Noah, Carl. That's Carlo / whatever name he wants to go by this time. Drip.
While we're also doing that, I want to also add this. There are other people who've reached out to me on Instagram. AJ, Angel, Hunter, Derek, Paranormal Magazine, Brian, Mark Chavez. Like there's many people have reached out to me as well, even on Twitter. I'll give Twitter guys a shout. Hey, listen, man, just want you guys to know that we answer. I think we're very proactive, and most people like you reach out to, like I don't know, Sukalos, and you get nothing. You get they don't even acknowledge you. We here acknowledge every single comment. As long as we see it, we react to it. We'll and there was somebody I spoke to. I think it was on Instagram, and I think it was AJ Davis. I could be wrong, or maybe not. Oh shit! I hit somebody's story.
Oh boy.
Angel. Yeah, it was Angel. He didn't realize it was me. I'm like, nah, it's me.
Yeah, like we don't have people. When you get a response back, it's usually from
us.
George, myself, Ken, or occasionally Rafferty. But
so plug in one more time. What's the easiest way to get a hold of us?
Easiest way to get a hold of us is either Facebook Messenger, Instagram message, post on our page.
Discord.
Well, Discord, you can only get a hold of us if you join Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get to us a lot faster. But before you get to that point, shoot us a Facebook Messenger. Seems to be the best way. We'll respond right away. And, talk about getting back to people fast. Even we reach out to a lot of people as potential guests and try to get them on, and some never respond. I'll be honest with you, though. Sometimes I get excited when I get a quick denial.
Yeah.
And say, no, we're not doing that at this time, because at least they took the time to respond.
Right.
Recently, I tried to reach out to, if anybody's a wrestling fan, Malachi Black, who's in AEW now. He was Aleister Black in WWE. Noticed in one of his posts he had a square and compasses tattooed on his hand. So I was just curious if he was a traveling man. I reached out to his manager to see if we could get him on the show. They quickly responded within the hour, sorry, we're not doing interviews at this time. But I thought it was really cool that they got back to us right away.
So one of the guys I've been talking to through Twitter is Daniel Duke, and he wrote a book called...
Oh, that's the Jesse James Gold guy,
Jesse
right?
James. He wrote a book called Jesse James and the Knights Templar. Gold, I think it was what it was. Knights Templar Treasure. That's what it was. Excuse me. And I've been talking to him about getting him on here, and we're going to talk about it. He wrote me a long dissertation. My first book deals with hidden treasures as well as connections between Jesse James, Freemasonry, the Knights Templar, the Founding Fathers, and Jewish mysticism. And he sent me an editorial review of his book and everything. And we're going to get him on here. And I have to keep apologizing to Daniel Duke because I keep putting him off a little bit because I want to have the full dais up here before... anytime we have a guest, I'm going to have all three of us because Ken is very...
Ken's
Ken,
very Ken.
technical, right?
Yeah,
he's very technical with things. So, and you're more of the free mind thinking, right?
Yeah, I like to have an open mind. About
Open
a lot of
mind.
things, yeah.
And I'm kind of just I don't know. What am I?
You're you.
You. Yeah. But anyway.
It's funny, though, when people were mentioning, and I did see in the Discord comments, which you can only see if you join Patreon for as little as $5 a month, how the crew are it was actually, I think, Joe Schultz that mentioned the differences in the dynamic when the three of us aren't together.
Yeah.
Because you and Ken tend to be such polar opposites that when I'm here, I'm like a mediator or a buffer between the two. But it is fun how... and
it works, though. It works, though. And usually when me and you were together, it turns into a shit show. I mean, luckily we had something to read here, so it didn't get too far off the rails.
It did not go full-on Fat and Furious tonight.
Yeah, no, it didn't go Fat and Furious. Yeah, me and you tend to really feed off one another, whereas Ken is our grounding in some senses.
You and I together are like...
and then usually it's me just being a smartass over here, and Ken's the one who's like, no. He's very... monotone and mild-mannered,
Yeah. No, we're each other's catalyst, so once we get together, things go.
What do you say, Joey?
All right, let's rock it out.
All right. Oh, let's do that toast.
Oh, let's do that toast.
Lady Joe.
Brother, right hand to arms.
Two arms.
Ready.
Ready.
Aim.
Aim.
Fire, good fire, fire all. Together, brother. Vivat, vivat, vivat.
Beautiful. Let's shut it down, Joe.
All right.
You want to switch over to the OBS screen real quick so we can just end the stream?
What is that?
I want to thank
What is that, this one?
the weird one that looks like a Klingon symbol, and then just go to stop streaming.
Do we want to sign off before we stop streaming?
Yeah, we're gonna sign off, but just have it on the pulse. But
Okay.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed. I love this book. It definitely opens my mind and,
For sure.
and has me thinking differently about a lot of different things. But for the Freemasons podcast, I am Right Worshipful Brother George Mudgery signing off.
Worshipful Brother Joe signing off.